staying at home and not catching COVID. So kind of sad, but it's the way it is this year. Back to you.
Thank you, Dave. Next, I would like to ask Rama.
Hi, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and fellow guests. My name is Rama. I've been with the club for about 5 months now, so a long time. And this is honestly like the highlight of my month. The meetings are so fun. I actually just got hired with a new company, so things have been really hectic. So I wasn't able to make the last meeting, but I put in a lot of effort toward making this one. So I'm really glad to be here. Thank you.
So thank you, Rama. We'll ask another returning guest, Emily.
Toastmaster. I've been with the Toastmaster for a few months, and for like this year for the Christmas, we're just going to have like Christmas dinner, because like usually I would go to my aunt and uncle's place to celebrate Christmas, but due to the pandemic, you can't really have like big gatherings. And that's everything.
So thank you, Emily. I would like to ask another returning guest, Marcus.
Hi everyone. I think I will be the newest member of the team, and I've just joined for 2 weeks. So my first meeting was back in 2 weeks, and this is my second meeting. And what I would like for Christmas is, because I'm living by myself, so I can't really have like gatherings with people. So what I would hope for this year would be abundant kindness for everyone. I hope this pandemic would teach everyone to be kinder and, give thanks to everything that we have and appreciate it. Yeah. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
So
thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. So I would like to ask our first time guest, Maud for us. So, am I pronouncing your name correct?
Yes. You can call me Fidaus.
Firdaus. Okay. Would you like to just briefly introduce yourself?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Firdaus. I'm from Malaysia. This is my first time joining this class. Yeah, obviously I joined these Toastmaster programs to improve my public speaking, and to overcome my fear during this when I'm done this public speaking. And I think COVID-19 bring me here because in my country we are still in lockdown mode, so there's a lot of things to do, using online things. And finally I managed to find this program, and hopefully I can join for the next session also. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. So you're most welcome to attend our meeting. Just sit back and relax, and you are being invited to participate in the table topic in the second half of the meeting. So that concludes our roundtable introduction. We'll move on to another important role, which is introduce himself. The role is help us to keep track of the time and make sure we finish the meeting on time. Please help me to welcome our timer, Dave.
Hello again, everyone. So I'll be keeping track of time. Let me see if I can do this. So my background will go from green to yellow to red. Yellow when you're nearly out of time, and red when you're in the last minute, I think it is for most of them. So I'll do my best to just roll. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave, to take on this 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 timer is not an easy role, and I appreciate you willing to take on this very challenging role. So before we move on to the prepared speeches, I would like to ask everyone to raise your glasses or cups. So in this difficult time, so we are together sharing 1.5 hour every 2 weeks. So it's a blessing. So I hope everyone have a great holiday season coming, and be safe, stay safe, and stay healthy. So cheers. So therefore, we conclude the introduction part of the meeting. So we'll move on to the main part of the meeting, Toastmaster meeting. In each Toastmaster meeting, we have prepared speeches. And to help the prepared speech to improve, there are assigned speech evaluators. They will use evaluation form provided by Toastmasters International to give the speaker feedback. So before I call on the first speaker, I would like to ask his evaluator to briefly point out the objective of the speech and then introduce the speaker. Please help me to welcome the first evaluator, the distinguished Toastmaster, Dorothy Meader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our speaker this evening is TJ, and TJ is working from the engaging humor path, and he is on the very first project, Icebreaker. The purpose of this project is for the member to introduce himself to the club so that he can learn some basic structure of public speaking. TJ has been a member for a little while, is working on his distinguished Toastmaster accreditation. He's a member of 2 clubs, and it's a delight to have him here with us. Please join me in welcoming TJ.
Thank you, Dorothy. Dave, just so you know, for an icebreaker speech, there is not a time limit. But you can give me a red at 6, or you can still go through the sequence just so I know where I'm at. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Winston Churchill said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's having the courage to continue going is what matters." Fellow Toastmasters and guests, you all remember the story of the 3 little pigs, don't you? Of course you do. Well, 25 years have passed, and those 3 little pigs are now very old pigs. But thanks to the wonders of modern social networks for pigs, like Instaham, HogZap, PorkTube, don't look that one up, by the way. The 3 pigs have agreed to meet up for the meetup. Actually, that's another good one. The 3 pigs have agreed to meet up for the first time after those fateful days when the big bad wolf was huffing and puffing his way all over town. We pick up the story in a restaurant, a vegetarian restaurant, obviously, where the 3 pigs are busy catching up on the last 2 decades worth of events. Now, the cleverest pig, the one who built the brick house and successfully defeated the wolf, he's the first to speak. "Well, after I killed the wolf all those years ago, I moved away to a different town and built another house. And I was also afraid that another big bad old wolf was going to come around, that I built that house even bigger and more secure than the last house. I blocked off the chimneys. I put a fence around the perimeter. I barred up the windows, and I even went so far as to make the walls of steel. I felt so safe and so secure in that house that I started to go out less and less. Actually, I hadn't even gone outside that house until the last time I went outside was over 10 years ago. And now when I finally came outside, everyone in the village is telling me, "Oh, Jeremy, you big old ham, there hasn't been a wolf in town since you've been locked up." Come to think of it, I think I've made a bit of a pig's ears of it, really. The second pig looked up from her plate and she said, "Well, I'm afraid my story is very much the same. After the wolf blew down my stick house, I moved to another town and I built another stick house. But another wolf came and he blew it down. So I ran away. I moved again to another town and the same thing happened. And the same thing kept happening. And I kept running away. And I kept starting again. And now I actually am rather sad too, really. Because over the last 25 years, I've probably lived in over 100 different towns. And it means I haven't had a chance to really make any real friends or meet another pig and settle down and start a family with. It was the final pig's turn to speak. The other pigs noticed he was covered in scars from head to toe, or pulled pork as they call it. But he seemed so much happier and more content than they did. As George Orwell said, all pigs are created equal, but he seemed to be more equal than others. Well, I won't lie. After you two left town, I was rather sad too. But I built myself a new straw house in exactly the same spot. Of course, I was terrified that another wolf would come along, but I love straw houses and I love my town and I wouldn't change my ways for anyone. So I built the new straw house and another wolf did come and he blew it down. But I rebuilt it again in exactly the same spot. And the wolf kept on coming, but I kept on rebuilding. Until one day, I had had enough. It was the last straw. So I decided to look up the work of different psychologists, like most pigs do, right? And I read Norm Spancher, who said that the best way through fear, the best way to overcome your fear is to face it. And Philippe Goldin, who concluded that exposure is by far the most effective way to dealing with your fears, phobias, or anxieties of any kind. So when the wolf came again, I went outside and I fought with him. And that's how I got all these scars. But I survived. And the next time he came, I kept on fighting. I went and fought again, and I got more scars. But every time I fought, it got just a little bit easier. Until one day, the wolf grew so weary that he stopped coming. And everyone in my town loved me, and they made me the mayor. And now I live in a huge straw house in the middle of my town with my wife and 3 piglets. There's no denying that those pigs faced a lot of stress under the threat of the wolves. And we certainly can't blame them for having a phobia on the back of it. But each of them chose to deal with their fear in a different way. The first pig moved away. The second pig ran away time and time again. But it was the third pig the failure from the first story, who found the courage to stand up to his fears, eventually moving towards them, and ultimately, through them, defeating them. Let's put aside the pigs for one moment. I'll wrap them up in blankets. And let's think of some of the things that we're afraid of as humans. Heights, flights, speaking, spiders, big spaces, small spaces, strangers, outsiders. Things that might happen but almost never. Things that happened and they're fixed forever. The list goes on. Don't worry, the poetry doesn't. But what I don't think it matters what we're afraid of specifically. I think it matters most in how we try and deal with our fears. Which one of those three pigs will you be? Will you be the one to hide away? Will you be the pig who runs away? Or will you find a way? I know which pig is most difficult to be. I know which pig will leave you covered in scars and marching headlong into the biggest battle of your life. But it's by having the courage to become that same pig that we actually fulfill our destiny and experience one of life's greatest gifts, which is to have an inner peace and an outer confidence. By facing your fears, you're not just letting go of them, you're letting them let go of you, so that you can be free to be the best version of yourself that you know you can be. And as Aristotle said, without courage, nothing in life is possible without courage. Thank you. Over to you, Charles.
Thank you, our first speaker, TJ, to give a quite interesting story I never heard about. Well, so we'll move on to the second speaker. Before I introduce the second speaker, I would like to ask her evaluator, Charles, to point out the objectives and introduce the second speaker. Please help me to welcome second evaluator, Charles.
You're muted, Charles. Let's try this again. Anybody able to hear me? Yes, no, yes, okay. So here's the idea. What I'm doing is I'm evaluating Sharon, who's going to be doing her Pathways Level 2, and this one is going to be understanding your leadership style. And in this project, she's supposed to be she chose the path to be talking about leadership styles in general, and from that, how it makes their impact, each of the leadership styles. And the time is going to be 5 to 7 minutes. And I believe this is something about the Western style leadership and the Oriental style leadership making a whole big clash. So let's welcome Sharon.
Thank you. Yuhan, can I share the screen? I prepared the slides, so I would like to, oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. Good evening, my dear Toastmaster fellows and most welcome guests. Tonight my speak is about when Western leadership style clash with Oriental leadership styles. I have worked in both Asia, Hong Kong, Beijing, Thailand, and as well as Toronto and Vancouver. So I've encountered different kinds of leadership style shifts in my career. Either I'll be a leader or I was a subordinate. So I think it would be an interesting topic to talk about. My speech would be break down into 5 parts. First is the differences types of leadership styles in general. The second is talking about the cultural differences between Western and Oriental. I think it's a key point to first understand the cultural differences because that's the drivers for the differences of the leadership styles. That's the next topic I will talk about. And the 4 will be talk about the similarity of both leadership styles. Actually, there's some similarity between them too. And finally, we'll reach our conclusion. First is the different types of leadership styles. In general, it can be broken down into 6: commanding, visionary, affirmative, democratic, presenting. Well, each of them have their own visions. While for commanding is do what I told you, visionary is come with me, democratic is what do you think, presenting is do as I do now. As you would imagine, you would encounter these 6 types of styles in your work life, but that's not what I'm trying to talk about. I would like to tell you some cultural differences before we move on to the differences between Western and Oriental style. First of all, if you look at those 6 pictures, you will see that for the blue one is for generally for the Western cultures, while the red one is generally the Oriental cultures. For example, for me, while Western culture is emphasizes on individualism, while Oriental would be less emphasizes on individualism but on a group. While straightforward thinking and especially in self-expressions in Western culture, while it's more euphemisms in Oriental cultures, well, this kind of things would be the drivers for the differences. And in depth, if you look at that, let's take US and China, Europe and East Asia as an example. The in-depth analysis can be broken down into several factors. Take for logic thinkings, Western is more linear thinking, while Eastern is more spiral. While for communications, Western is more direct verbals, while Eastern is more indirect and implied. Whilst for business relationships, Western is more economic comforts, while Eastern is more relationships comforts. As of decision making, Western is more distributive, proactive, Western is manager has the final say. These cultural differences cause the differences in the leadership styles. Well, so what's the differences between Oriental and Western? Let's take some country for example. Like for Japan, they are more team focused that instill the pride, loyalty, collaboration among organizational members and highly value team comprehensiveness and the common purposes of goals. Whereas for German, it's more encourage input from others in decision makings and implementations and emphasize on delegations and equality. So the same list goes on for US, South, France, or China. Well, in terms of management principle for Western, the relationship is based on equality, merit, and individual ability. Eastern is more based on mutual duties and group dynamics. For Western, is to deal with the problem immediately, while Eastern is more focusing on safe face. For Western, opinion determined by debate, individual thinking, and input. For Western, is more opinion predetermined by representing the individuals. While Western is more define the status with personal rewards, while Eastern more focusing on share with the group. While fundamental differences can be furthermore elaborated into the collectivism versus individualism, vertical hierarchies versus the horizontal hierarchy, the harmony versus competitions, and long-term versus short-term Oriental. The list can be goes on and on. But have you ever questioned if there is any similarity between these 2 styles? Actually, it is. If you look at this graph, the bars show the green indicated high score for Asia Pacific leader, the blue indicated high score for global peers, and the gray indicated no differences. If you look at that, actually, there's 4 characteristics it's commonly shared between Westerns and Oriental. That is the ego drive, the intelligence, the individualized approach, and growth orientations. So there are certainly some similarities between those 2. Well, from my past experience, I feel that there's a constant shiftings and like learning from each other, like the Oriental learning from the Western style, or the Western learning somehow from the Oriental styles. So ultimately, the management styles of Eastern Oriental are actually complementary rather than exclusive. Therefore, it's very important to know the similarity and differences in order to be able to better understand any education situation that might arise in cross cultures, conflicts, and leadership styles differences. So as the saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. That's my speech for tonight. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
So thank you, Sharon, to give a very informative and the comparison about the two culture you have experienced. So we'll move on to a third speaker. Before I introduce the third speaker, I would like to bring up her evaluator, which is John Morris. Please help me to welcome the distinguished Toastmaster, John Morris.
Thank you very much, Yuhan. Leah's going to be doing a 5 to 7 minute speech from Presentation Mastery, Project Level 1, Project 2, and it's Evaluation and Feedback, Part 1. And she can present a topic on, she can present a speech about any topic she wants to speak about. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. So the title of Leah's speech is Late to the Party. Late to the Party, Leah Shea.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. I would like to start with a question for you this evening. Does this resonate with you at all? If it does with you like it does with me, that means that you too might have a problem with your memory. I am one of those people that has constantly and my whole life been late to the party. I seem to not be able to do anything, no matter how many devices I put reminders in. I can't recall what I'm supposed to do from 1 minute to the next, even as my phone is constantly reminding me, or work gets in the way, or life gets in the way. And those invitations from friends and family to come out end up being responded to late. I am, without a doubt, late to the party, and it's a horrible thing to have to acknowledge. Sometimes, the mood, my phone will remind me, and I might actually be somewhat on time. This is what happens when I show up only an hour late to the party. I'm the only one there. Now, hosts tend not to smile when you show up late to the party. So today, I'd like to provide you with some tips and words of wisdom to help you maintain friends and family.
Leah, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
It's breaking.
It's breaking up a
It's
lot.
drifting. Huh. Okay. Well, I'll go from here. Hopefully you can you hear me okay now? PJ? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Honestly, I think you might be better off to start from the beginning.
Okay. Redo. Mr. Timer, Dave, can you start this again? So sorry about the technical difficulties.
Or,
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're
yeah,
good now.
it's fine now. I don't know what's going on there, but timer restarted.
Let's do this again. I'd like to start tonight by asking you a question. And that question is simply this. Does this resonate with you? I know there's something going on. There's something I should be doing, but I'm not doing it. If you answered yes to that question, you, my friend, are not alone. I have a memory problem. And no matter how many times I put reminders into my phones, my calendars, my schedules, and even have reminders go off, I cannot remember for the life of me what it was I was supposed to be doing. And I often show up late for the party. Stage of my life, I'm amazed I still have family and friends, given how many times I've shown up late for the party. So today, even though this advice will only be good for Christmas 2021, because Dr. Bonnie Henry has canceled Christmas this year, I'm going to give you some tips for how to keep your friends and families still liking you, even if you too are late for the party. What happens when I actually show up only an hour late? Happened to you? You're the first and only one at the party? Sometimes being late for the party does have its advantages because you're not alone. But if you are the first one there, you can ingratiate yourself by helping the host to set up, even if you are late for the party, but earlier than everyone else. Sometimes though, the host doesn't take too kindly to when you actually show up late for the party, and this can be the reaction you get. Yes, I have seen this look one too many times. And no matter how often I say, I'm sorry, I forgot, something happened, I was in the hospital and I just got out. No matter what, it's hard to change the host look. It's understandable. They wanted you there on time for their party. Life, it gets in the way. The best thing you can do in this situation is apologize or go one better. Set the bar low. Let them know in advance. Chances are you're going to be late. This way, their expectation of you is lowered. Lowered expectations are always a good way to go. Then there are those parties that you may never ever want to go to in the first place. That's right. You never want to go to a party that has John McCain from Die Hard in it because chances are you're going to get blown up, shot up, or exploded. So sometimes it's actually really good to be late or just never go to the party. And then there's other times when you actually are excited. You're like, yes, oh my God, I'm invited and I'm going to go. You show up late for the party. And this is a tip that's going to get you to keep your friends. Bring the enthusiasm. Everybody else might be having a great time, but you show up, they're going to probably forgive you. And they're going to want you there because you're going to become the life of the party, even if you're late for the party. That's okay. That is allowed to happen. Then there are times when being late for the party is not such a good idea. I can't say I've ever had my car in a tree from showing late to a party, but I have lost employment opportunities by forgetting to respond to emails by a due date, and that was a party I was late for and really regretted later on. Sometimes you don't want to be late for the party, but if it happens, life goes on. But then you show up, you're going to be maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours late. These things happen. That's okay. When you get there, you're probably hoping for this. Yeah, did your host save cake for you? Did they? Did they? A good host will save you cake and maybe even save you some food. But if the host is really mad and they don't save you anything, don't blame them. The best way to avoid having a very angry host upset with you is to do this. Bring a peace offering. I wouldn't recommend doing what this bird is doing and bringing a piece of fish because I'm sure you're not going to love it. Bring something that you know your host is going to really enjoy that's going to make her smile. What I do, I might be one of the last ones to show up for the party, but I tell you this much, I'm also one of the last to leave the party. I'm there cleaning up and making sure that that host's house is back to normal. That's my peace offering, and I think that's why I get invited back time and time again, even though I'm late for the party. And then this is the reaction your host is going to give you. They are going to be like, yes, thank you. You saved my day. You've made my year. And you will get invited to the party. It's a great way to keep your friends. I'm telling you straight up, you want to take this tip. Do it every time you think you're going to be late for the party. Although every once in a while, your host might wonder why you're still there, even though they didn't really want you there. But that's okay. You're contributing, you're making a difference. And just remember one thing, no matter what happens, if you're late for the party, it is never too late to join the party because wherever you are, that's where the party is. Your friends can have that gathering. Be kind, be nice, be thoughtful, lower their expectation, but remember, it is never too late to join the party. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All three speakers have finished their speeches. And we have three different types of speech: the informative, the party speech, and the critical speeches. So three quite different kind of speeches. We'll move on to the evaluation. The first evaluator I would like to call up is our Division E Director, Dorothy Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, TJ, for sharing your story with us today. Some of the things that I really enjoyed about TJ's speech this evening was, number one, that he started with a quote. And not just the fact that he started with a quote, but the quote was relevant to the meaning of his speech. He clearly was prepared for presenting this evening. He also used a lot of humor in his speech, which was good because he is working from the engaging humor pathway. And the humor was very subtle. It wasn't like roar on the floor laughing, but it was fun. It was humorous and made me smile. Then he continued to use quotes throughout his story. But did you notice how the quotes supported the material that was in his story? So they weren't just quotes for the sake of using quotes, but they had meaning to them. I'd like to suggest to TJ and to all of us a couple of points that we can use to help us improve our speeches. So the first one is that the story of the three pigs, most of us know that story, and that there are lessons to be learned from the story. What I would like to suggest is that you take that opportunity to think of something in your own life that relates to what the pigs were going to, and then share that with us. Remembering that the purpose of this speech was to have the speaker introduce himself to us so that we got to know him better. And I felt that in this particular speech, it was more about giving us a lesson rather than introducing yourself to us and making us feel like we knew you better. The second suggestion that I'd like to make is that regardless of where you are and how many times you've done an icebreaker speech, the idea of giving any speech is to do your best to fit it within the time frame. An icebreaker speech is 46 minutes, and even if you did go over, that would be okay. But to intentionally or not be concerned about the time because you know you're allowed to be over time is a lesson that we can learn from. We're practicing timing because that's something that is important in our world of learning to be on time. But all in all, TJ presented a story that made me smile. And that's what I will take away tonight, is that I enjoyed it and it made me smile, lifted my spirits, and I appreciate that very much. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
So thank you so much, our first evaluator, Dorothy. So this very some of the feedback I think I can also learn from. So, therefore, I would like to ask our second evaluator, Charles, to provide some evaluation to Sharon's speech. Please help me to welcome Charles.
Thank you, everybody. Have the pleasure of evaluating Sharon, who talks about Western style and Eastern style leadership. At the beginning, I'm going to be quite honest with everybody here in the room. I am less than open-minded because I thought that this speech was about everything that is the worst that I can think of when it comes to upbringing. But man, was I proven wrong. but I actually learned something new from this. So good job on you, Sharon, for being able to open and change my point of view for that. So I'll go over a few good things in terms of, and most of these is gonna be based on content and organization. So organization first is, at the beginning, a good speech is you tell them what you told your them, you tell them what you tell them, you tell it to them, and then you tell them what you told them. Sharon got that covered because she talked about it at the beginning, covering the content. Here's what I'm going to go through with you. And then she went through with you on all of this in great detail, might I add. And then she managed to summarize all of that on what she's learned at the end. So through that, it's a very good organization speech and something that we can be able to follow through some of the ways to some degree, and I can go with. Content-wise, I can also say that this is also a very much developed speech because I see details just about everywhere all over the screen, which is on a good side and also on a downfall side as well. Because the good side is, if you really want to learn something about the many different leadership style, she has that all covered in terms of the reds and the blues and the reds and the blue, the orange and the blues, whatever you call the colors. But the idea is it gives a very good compare and contrast. And I can say that for a few other slides that shows you the points and graphs and all of that. I would also wanted to be able to caution that, not just to Sharon, but to anybody who is to be able to put in, if there's gonna be content-rich stuff, it's going to be an exchange between content-rich and trying to be able to follow through. And personally for me, I've been able to follow through to some degree, to the point that I'm almost about to snap and lose my patience about the whole just summarize the flipping thing already. And that is the point of where I am about to be at. Not that it's a bad thing, because she did manage to cover a lot of things. But what I wanted to make a point about is summarize. Because if I'm seeing a slide where the bullet points are scattered to the top left all the way to the bottom right, and it's everywhere, then I think that this is just way too much for any audience to be able to follow. That is much better to be able to compress down to the about 5 maximum. And then through that, just bring that small summary. And then at the next slide, tell them your main point from that. I think that is a good way to be starting when it comes to trimming down content from there. But all in all, like I said, it's a very, very rich type of speech with lots and lots of details covering a lot of things. And there's a lot of things that I didn't even know about that Sharon opened me up. So let's see this next speech with more content cut down and summarized.
Thank you, Charles.
Well, thank you, our second evaluator, Charles, to give another very intense evaluation. So move on to the last evaluator, who will provide some insight for the third speaker, Leah. Please help me to welcome distinguished Toastmaster, John Morris.
Thank you very much, Yuhan. I really enjoyed Leah's speech tonight. I could relate to it very well. I know what it means to be late to the party, figuratively speaking, as well as factually speaking. I felt I evaluated her on the basis of the technique, content, organization, and delivery. First of all, her content, I felt she had an excellent opening with a question that engaged the audience to be aware of being late due to faulty memory problems. The body had interesting comment with regards to the ramifications of missing out on events in life, and the conclusion was a strong summarization of the content. The organization was informative, using examples and descriptions to paint pictures of situations and what she was trying to communicate. I felt her delivery was most superb, though. In spite of the technical glitch that happened at the beginning of her first attempt at giving the speech, she handled it with great poise and restarted the speech, and things went off quite smoothly. I felt she had some very strong strengths, exceptional animated vocal variety and vocal quality. There's no question her voice really made this speech come alive. Her gestures, eye contact, pacing, and pauses reinforce this, and she has very strong facial animation. You can almost know what she's talking about just from the expressions on her face. One thing I liked about this speech, it had a nice creative touch, good use of visual aids to help illustrate her examples and descriptions in the informative organization of the speech. So I felt it was a lot of work went into this speech, and it was very well rehearsed and presented. What would I consider to work on? Possibly just more rehearsal for a smoother delivery, but overall, this speech could actually go into a speech contest, would work very well. With a little bit of polishing and editing, I think she could actually win a speech contest with this speech. So well done, Leah. I look forward to hearing your next speech, and I'd like to return the floor back to you, Hen.
Thank you so much for our all three evaluators and the three speakers. That concludes our prepared speech portion of the meeting. So we will have a quick 5 minutes break, and we will be back, resume the meeting at 8:14. So please help yourself to have a drink or go to the bathroom.
But please come back.
Yeah, and for the guest, if you have any question, please feel welcome to ask. Or if you want to talk in private, we can go to a breakout room to talk to you one-on-one, or you can stay after the meeting.
He's the master at Zoom breakout rooms.
Thank you.
For Dust,
Yes.
how did you find out our meeting?
Through Eventbrite.
Oh, did you register? I didn't see you.
Yeah, I register myself.
Okay.
I registered myself actually, and I'm sorry because I joining late, because I saw in the page you have to join the link earlier, right? 5 or 10 minutes before, but I've got some internet problem, so that's why I joined in late. I'm trying to go through all the programs with you, but I can see there's a lot of I can say sections, right? It's a prepared speech, and then later you will have these
Table topics.
evaluator on that speech, and then also the table topics master. I just want to know whether are you guys meeting every Tuesday at the same time, or
So
is there any?
Where do you live?
Malaysia, I think.
Where
Malaysia? Yeah.
Oh.
So
For every second Tuesday.
So we are based in British Columbia, Canada.
I thought we were meeting on Mondays. Maybe I got this wrong. Are we meeting on Tuesday now, or are we still Monday?
It's Monday. Apparently, I'm a day ahead of myself.
So Tuesday in Malaysia time. I think that's what they mean
Malaysia
by that.
time. I see.
What Leah mean by that.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
7:15 Pacific time.
Oh yeah.
I say that because because I visit a club in Australia and they have different time zone and day, and they tell me the same thing.
Okay, so this session based in UK, right?
No, yeah, the club based in Canada.
Oh, Canada. So are you open for outside Canada to join, or?
As long as you can make the time zones, you should be fine.
So this is the time, right? So for me in Malaysia, every Tuesday from 11:15 onwards until it's about 2 hours, right?
Yeah, until
12:45.
So 1 hour 45 minutes. Yeah.
1 hour. So for now, since my country is still in lockdown mode, so I'm still work from home, I have no problem to join during this time.
So have you been a Toastmaster member before?
No, this is my first time.
So if you can message me your email, I can send you the package for guest package.
Okay.
So you can see the benefit of becoming a Toastmaster member. So I believe it's 5 minutes.
Do I time the table topics or like with the background or no?
Yes, so table topic is for each speaker is green at 1, yellow at 1:30, and red at 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, global speakers, for having me this evening. I have to leave early, and I hope to see you soon.
So thank you, Dorothy, for attending our meeting and be our evaluator. Hope
You
to
bet.
see you next time.
PJ, I'll send off the evaluation to you by email.
Thanks, Dorothy. See you later.
Okay, good evening, global speaker members and most welcome guests. I'm Marcus, for Dust, Dave, Rama, and Emily. So welcome back to the second half of the global speaker meeting. So after the prepared speech, then we'll move on to the part I like the most, which is the table topics, is to help us to practice our impromptu speaking skills. I believe, and so without further ado, I would like to ask our table topic master to take over and maybe explain a little bit what's table topic about. Please help me to welcome Sal Baloo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. Table topics. It's about speaking impromptu. You call it random and you come up with something that you just make up on the spot. And the idea is to train you so that you can speak on your feet and think on your feet. So I've prepared a number of questions, but before I begin, I'd like to ask our guests if you'd like to participate. If so, please raise your hand, and if the opportunity comes, I will call upon you. Any guests who would like to participate? One, Rama, thank you very much. Okay, so here's the first question, and the first question is going to go to none other than our experienced Toastmaster, John. John. You're there, Ron, are you ready? So here's the question for you. What is the one thing in your life that you're holding on that you need to give up?
I'm glad you asked that question, Sal, because I've come to the conclusion that perhaps the biggest barrier in my life has been what I call contaminated communication. And what do I mean by contaminated communication? I mean certain elements and figures of speech which appear, using myself as an example, which actually may initially be funny to the recipient, but ultimately will drive the recipient nuts. For example, well, I used to do a lot of repetition in my speech, saying the same thing over and over again in different ways. And this, of course, becomes very tedious and boring and turns people off. I don't do that anymore. But one thing that comes to mind is imitating certain people in show business, like I remember Telly Savalas, Kojak, speaking like Kojak. This is not a wise idea to do. It may work in show business, but in real life, it can present problems. One thing which you may not know, but which I do with people is, and a lot of people, some people do this, is a lot of swearing. I've stopped that. I'm cleaning up the communication there. Use of nicknames with people, even self-composed nicknames that are out of the blue. That doesn't work. Those are some examples of some things that I'm working on. You know, and I catch myself doing those things. You know, I've been doing it for so long, since the 70s, that I find there's a lot of internal communication in my mind where I'm even saying these things over and over in my mind. So I'm getting rid of all that, cleaning up that garbage. So that's the biggest single important thing that I'm doing, Sal. There are other examples that don't come to mind right now, but those would be the main ones that I can think of offhand. And I'll let you know privately any other ones that I think of sometime. But in retrospect, I picked up some of these things, particularly the constant swearing, working up north in mining exploration camps. It doesn't work. And this sort of thing is very, yeah, in other places where I pick these things up, imitating Mad Magazine, thinking like Mad Magazine. This drives people absolutely crazy. Using unfamiliar foreign accents when you're communicating with people. In other words, I'm speaking English, and so that would be something else which one wants to stop doing. So those are some examples I'd like to give you, but I'm working on all that and trying to clean up my communication. That's the biggest single change I could ever make in my entire life. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, John, for that very detailed answer. Now, here's another question. How do you let go of disappointments and regrets? Now, this question is for Rama, who raised her hand. So, Rama, how do you let go of disappointments in your life or any regrets that you have?
For me, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. For me, how I let go of disappointments, I guess, is not to give it so much thought. Like, honestly, like if it's a mistake, everyone is bound to make mistakes, and mistakes are, like, the way I see them, they're learning processes. So I feel like, yeah, just it's your decision how you choose to react and to respond. And the way you respond dictates everything. It dictates your personality, and it says a lot about who you are. So just learning to control, the way you think, the way you act, it's the key to success. Thank you.
Thank you, Rama. That nails it quite well. It's entirely up to you. So thank you for bringing that up. In life, we have to give up many things as time goes on. What is the one thing you treasure most in your life that ultimately you would have to let go? Just that life is so finite, and in the end, everything is temporary. So let me ask you, what's the one thing that you treasure that you would have real difficulty in giving up? Who would like to take that challenging question here? Anybody? Charles, over to you.
Honestly, it's not that challenging, but I'll give you the short summary of what I'm willing to give up. And that is those short-term gains. I'll give you a good idea of what I mean by short-term gains. When you are young, you're gonna be hanging around friends, and the most important thing that adheres to you is gonna be going to the next party and drinking and drinking and drinking until you can't drink anymore. I'm sure every one of us have been through or at least seen that at some point. Until at one point you're gonna have to be maturing and coming to your senses that you can't be doing that forever. And I come to accept that early on, more than 10 years ago, that if I am ever going to get through, I'm not just talking about just getting through college and trying to start a family one day when I made that decision 10 years ago. I think when I just decided to be able to make that, at least that decision, to be that big decision to change myself, to go from this person who just wants to have fun and not care, to being somebody who's more responsible in the future. I think that is something that is one of the hardest changes that I have to be able to make, because it's kind of like for me to be able to look at myself from the inside, from trying to being a little boy to growing up to being more of a man. And I have to be able to take more things into responsibility. Like I got a business to be able to run, so I got the people to be looking after, or maybe in the future, I want freedom. So I have to be able to give up those kind of fun times so I can enjoy that kind of thing today, to being able to like, okay, I can't be doing this throughout the years because I am more like, we're not dating anymore. We're married now. So throughout this, there's more responsibility to be able to looking after family. So all of these put together in a short summary has each and individually one big change of episode on its own. Being able to make that big decision, you have to be able to make the commitment to make these little decisions. And being able to make those little decisions requires you to just let that go and accept that as a reality to change.
Thank you, Charles. A lot of wise sayings in there. Thank you for a number of interesting points you raised. We live life in moments, and there are parts of our life that are amazing, and we really appreciate that. And there are other parts that are not all that great. Describe a moment in your life that you would really like to live over and over again, if you could. Who would like to take that? I'm going to call upon somebody at random if you don't raise your hand. How about TJ? What's a moment in your life that has been so precious to you, but if you had another chance, you'd like to live it over and over again?
Thank you. What moment would I like to live over and over again if I had the opportunity to? I'd say some of my favorite times as a child and growing up, especially during junior high school, so a little bit on the older side, was basketball. I was on the grade 8, 9, and 10 basketball team, and I was on the starting lineup, one of the best three-point shooters in the province. I wish I could go back and do things a little bit differently now that I'm a little bit smarter, I hope. But all in all, it was one of the funnest times of my life. And I was the most fit, the most active I'd been. And, up until then, and for sure, up until now, I've never been as fit as I was back then. And to have those relationships with my team members, to have my coach as a mentor, as good as I was, I could never beat my coach on a three-point shooting competition. He'd always just slip right past me at the end, and I think he was letting me lead for a while. But then when it came down to the wire, he would pull away and finally win. So if I could go back, I'd try to do a little bit more, practice a little bit more, and beat him. That would be an ideal situation. And yeah, I mean, just also be more present to the moment. As present as I was back then, I know I could have been even more, as I was trying to keep my grades up and all that at the same time. So to relive that childhood memory of being on the basketball team and having an important role on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Some fond memories there. Moving on to the opposite end of the spectrum. How are you doing for time, Mr. Timer? Do we still have some time for more questions?
Yeah, I think we can have two more questions.
Two more, okay. So let's move on to the other end of the spectrum. There are moments in life that we really want to forget about. It could be a very disappointing experience. It could be a heartbreak. It could be a number of things. So my question is, what do you do when you have a moment like that that you rather not remember? And I guess it's similar to the question that Rama answered, but slightly from a different perspective. What are the moments you really like to forget completely? Who would like to take that? How about some of our guests? Anybody up to it? Emily, you want to tackle that one? What's a moment in life you really like to forget about? You don't need to describe the moment, but what would you do to forget it? Or if you want to describe the moment, that's fine too. We'll leave it up to you. Do you want to try that, Emily, or you want to pass? Yeah,
So
why don't you
is
try
it
that?
so is it like a moment that I want to forget about?
Yes.
Like I remember back in high school, um like I remember like the teacher would mark me absent even though like I was like a few minutes late. And then like sometimes like the teacher would like post the marks up like as a whole class on with the student number, and then I look at my grade, and then like every time whenever the teacher sees me coming in 2 or 3 minutes late to class, like especially like a morning class, like the teacher would like deduct like 1% or 2% off my letter grade. Like for example, if I'm getting like a 86%, it dropped up to like an 84, like or like an 85. And I found that pretty like kind of like mean type of thing, because I never seen something like that before with my other teachers. I remembered. And I can't really think of any more.
That's okay. That's great. I appreciate you sharing that. Some interesting memories there to share. Thank you very much, Emily. And the final question. And if you're anything like me, you've had to move from place to place. Nowadays, people don't live in a place for too long. They grow up, they move, they leave their nest. They get married, they get divorced, things happen in life. And there are things in life, and it could be an article of clothing, it could be anything, that you find very difficult to just throw away. Anybody have that experience? You can't get rid of it because you like it so much, and even if your partner says, well, you know, you can afford much better, there's something has sentimental value to you, and you want to keep that. How many of you have experienced that? You really want to hang on to things. Anybody? They're all very good people who can get rid of things. You don't have any problems. But I would say that there are certain things in life. It could be relationships. It could be anything. Describe one thing, whether it's an article, a relationship, an experience that you really don't want to give up. How about Leah? How would you like to answer that one?
Yeah. The Catherine had her hand up.
Well, you kind of moved a little bit, and I saw you touching Johan.
No, I
So
was just saying what I want to keep.
want to keep Johan. Now tell us why.
Oh, no.
Well, I guess the answer probably is obvious to some of us, but tell us what that means, or anything else you want.
Sal, I think she said that Firdaus had raised his hand to participate in table topics. So maybe you can ask him this question.
Say that again?
I think Firdaus, Mode
He
Firdaus.
didn't have his raised hand. I asked for it, but let's ask Firdaus if he wants to answer the same question. Because in here, if you don't raise your hand, I won't call upon you. So do you want to participate, Firdaus? If so, raise your hand. There you go. He's not raising his hand. Now he did. Okay, Firdaus, what's the one thing in life you like to keep and not give up? Over to you. You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. Things not give up. Is it things or something like a relationship, or what are you?
Anything. It could be something of sentimental value. It could be an object. It could
Oh,
be a memory of an experience.
oh, okay. Um, I think yeah, I have a few things that I think I prefer to keep it to myself rather than to get rid of it. First of all, my late father's stuff. You know, I know for to some people or maybe cultures to keep the stuff belonging to the demise is a sign of bad luck. But I think uh, I still prefer to keep it like my father's shirt and also his personal stuff, just to um, just to remind me sometimes on the good memories between myself and my father. So that's one thing on my father's stuff. And then the second, and I think the most important, is the relationship that I had, um, since schools or even earlier than that. I love to, have this continuous relationship with whoever that I meet in my life, because I think by meeting a person, you can have this special, I think, special relationship that you can feel that you have been being loved by someone, being checked by someone. It's not like control over you, but to get you going, when you have something, facing difficult times, or challenges in your life, you have someone to talk to. And nowadays I think it's very difficult to find a person that very appreciate the relationship. And back to, I think, speaker Miss Sharon Lu earlier, she mentioned that the the culture from the Oriental, they values more um, friendship and also relationship rather than the straightforward relationship. So I think because of the East cultures, in myself also, I very appreciate this relationship, and will keep it and will not let go. So I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Firdaus, for sharing that. Lots of things here that you'd like to hang on to, such as your father's articles, and thank you very much for sharing that. Now that's all we have time for in terms of questions. Now I'm going to call upon our table topics evaluator, Sharon New, to give us an evaluation.
Topic
Oh, I'm
about
sorry, there's a joke in between, my mistake. Okay, I guess that breaks the flow of the table topics. So I'm not sure who calls upon the joke master, but then I assume title. This is why table topics shouldn't be broken up, because then the table topics master is responsible for the whole thing. But anyway, you decide how you want to handle it. Joke master?
So just take the floor. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. So we know that the pandemic has given us such hard and difficult times in this year of 2020, which we are going to finish in about 20 days. And it's not all about doom and gloom. So let me tell you some humor in doctors and in healthcare systems. So let me tell you about one doctor. He's very good. If you want him to tell his second opinion, he'll just go out and come back again. So you get a second opinion. Yeah. So that's how you get lots of opinions from the same doctor, and he'll cheer you up. And another time, he gave a patient 6 months to leave. But at the end of that 6 months, the patient hadn't paid his bill. So the doctor gave him another 6 months. So isn't that great that he gets to live on 6 months and 6 months? So yeah, that's the good news for the patient too. And while I talked to the patient, when the doctor was talking to the patient, the nurse came in and said, doctor, there's a man here who thinks he's invisible. And then you know what the doctor said? He said, oh, just tell him I can't see him. Yeah. So that's the fun part. And another time, a man came running into the office and yelled, doctor, doctor, my son just swallowed a roll of film. And the doctor, very calm, and he just responded by saying, let's just wait and see what develops. Yeah. And the last fun part of this doctor that you might want to know is that one patient came in and said, doctor, I have a serious memory problem. I think I have amnesia. And then the doctor asked him, when did it start? And the patient said, what? When it was start? So that's the jokes for today. I hope everyone enjoyed this. Thank you.
Guess I should call upon the table topics evaluator now. Over to you, Sharon.
Thanks, thanks, Marcus, for the joke. Let me refresh the memory. So the first question is for John to answer about something you want to hold on and not giving up. We talk about communications, offense for giving very detailed elaborations, but I think during your speech, you speak too many ums. So try to avoid that in future. For Rama, I could tell you really make progress in your speech compared to the previous times because you can talk about more elaborated right now, and you talk about the mistakes learning process, which I like about your speech. The third question is answered by Charles as before. As Charles always gives us many educated and insightful suggestions, opinions from his own life. He always like to share his own opinion, experience, which I like about. It's not a very easy question to answer for that. That's what you treasure most in your life, but need to let go. That's really difficult to answer, but he finished it quite well. The fourth question is answered by TJ about what women in life would like to live over again. That's another difficult one, I think. I really like when you talk, you smile, so the audience could tell you really cherish those moments. The fifth question is answered by Emily about moment want to forget about. First of all, sharing the interesting memory of your own, but try to reduce saying luck. There are too many luck when you talk. The final question is answered by Fodursus. I really think you really engage and active in the speech because you know what I'm talking about. But try to reduce saying too many in your speech. So to make your speech more flow. And that's all for my evaluations. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Sharon. I'd like to thank all those who participated in the table topics, both the evaluator and the speakers. And I'm going to hand the session over to our chair, Yuhan Chen. Over to you, Yuhan.
So thank you so much, Sal, to prepare such a different variety of questions about letting go. And thanks all the members and some guests participating. And thanks for Sharon to provide feedback for those 6 speakers. And of course, our joke master, Marcus, thanks for preparing such a clean joke. So that concludes our table topic session. We'll move on to the final part of the meeting. We have several reports. The first rule is I would like to call up someone will test our listening skills with a quizzer. Who he will ask some random question you to see if you have a good listening skill throughout the meeting. So before that, I would ask everyone to unmute yourself. So if you know the answer, you can just shout it out. So please welcome the quizzer, Charles.
Yep, back to me again. So from the beginning, let me see here. So from the beginning, there were 3 pigs in the story that I'm hearing from TJ's story. So what were the 3 pigs in sequential orders? What did they do in sequential order? in TJ's story.
One became there and had 3 piglets with his wife. And I think his name was Hog something. Oh my God.
Well, it's close enough. We'll give Leah that one. I was hoping to be hearing more about building the houses and then being more close up, but it's close enough. Okay, so next one, I believe, would be in Sharon's speech. She talked about leadership. She's talked about leadership style, but she did miss one part. She did miss one leadership style that was never ever talked about. Which style is that?
Democratic.
Dictatorship.
No, democratic was covered.
Dictatorship.
Authoritative, that's the one. TJ got it. And let's see. I believe that the next one was, just give me a moment while I gather my thoughts on this one, on how to summarize this one. So let's see here. In general, we all talk about different leadership styles in the West and the East and all of that, right? In Sharon's speech. So what was her final point that she wanted to get across to these ideas?
That two leadership styles should learn from each other instead of exclude each other.
Yes, Marcus got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And in TJ's final speech in his message, what did he wanted us all to be doing? Man, the red light. Okay, this is the last question. What did TJ want us all to be doing at his final speech?
Confronting the big bad wolf. No matter what.
Yeah, that's the one. The other one of them was to be hiding away. The other one is to be able to confront it. And yes, one of them, and it is to confront it. Okay, I think that's my time.
So thank you, Charles, to test our listening skill. So thank you for the quizzers. The next role I would like to ask our timer, Dave, who is very attentively throughout the whole meeting. Please welcome to the timer to give us a timer's report.
Thank you, Johan. All right, so our first speaker, TJ, was about 3 minutes over at 9 minutes exactly. Second speaker, Sharon, got it just under 7 minutes at 6:45. Leah, our third speaker, hit the yellow mark almost at 5:58, so just at the end of green. Our first evaluator, Dorothy, was 3 minutes and 10, so just a little bit over. Second evaluator, Charles, 3:20, a bit over. Third eval, John, 2:20, so right in the middle in the green. Table topics 1 was about 3.5 minutes, so ran a bit long. Table topics 2, Rama, just under a minute, so almost at the green light. Table topics 3, Charles, 2:16, so right in the middle. The fourth, TJ, 1:40, so also right in the middle. The fifth, Emily, 1:06, right in the green light. And for Douse, 2:45, so a little bit over. The jokes, we were just slightly over, just a little bit into the red at 2:10. Sharon, 2:05, which was good. And Charles, 2:30, you stopped on the red, so that was pretty good. I believe that's it for this. I don't know if there's anything else I need to do.
So thank you so much, Dave, to provide such a precise timer's report. We'll move on to the last role of the meeting, who will give us an overall evaluation, also provide feedback to anyone who has not been evaluated. Please help me to welcome General Evaluator Catherine Chuck.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Catherine Chuck. Welcome for fellow Toastmasters and all the guests. For the chairperson, I would like all the setup for Johan. He will remind us when 1 minute is away from the meeting, and he started the meeting pretty on time, which is set by 7:16. However, I would like him to maybe help us to like modify our names with our roles of the night, especially for some people, they might have more than one role. And also seems like we're missing the grammarian tonight. So we would like to have new words that help us to practice. And then the role can help us to monitor of all the fearless words. For the timer, Dave, it's very clear for the visual aid for all of the timing procedures and the reports. I'm glad we have Dave tonight and would like him to join us next time as well. For the toast from Johan, he asked us to stay healthy, and it was a nice toast. So for all the prepared speech evaluator, since all of them are the DTMs, in our club, we are so pressure. We have 6 DTM tonight, so they are so experienced and they have most of the very high quality of evaluation. Almost all of them have a very good hand gesture, if you can find. Like Dorothy, even though her hands are lower than the side, but you can still see her hands moving. And I like the most will be Charles. Charles has more room for him to move around her hands. And also John has a very good distance with the screen. So we can see almost half of his body. It's very good for people to do the evaluation as well. Which I like Dorothy the most. She has an excellent eye contact. Even though she's using notes, she usually will look at the camera for most of the time and then stare down just a little bit for her notes. Even though Charles, he doesn't use notes, but I cannot see his eyes all the time. In the future, I would like to see more your eyes, Charles. And that's for the evaluators. Then the table topic master, Sal. Sal usually have a very good sense of humor. And I like his preaching today. Especially he has a statement that says, live life in the moment. I like that. And everybody should live life in the moment, like in this critical time of period. For the table topics evaluator, Shannon. Shannon has a very good focus on what people said. However, she has missed Emily's evaluation. I would suggest her to put a note somewhere and maybe mark it down, like for how many speakers. Then, and also, yeah, I like her pace as well. But since we usually see half of the face of Shannon, maybe in the future you can adjust your distance between you and the monitor, and then we can see you more. Then I like your smiling all the time, so we'd like to see that more. For the quizzer, Charles, wow, we've got so many challenging questions from Charles. Next time, if he be the quizzer again, then I'll have to like focus on all the speeches. I like his questions that help us to think more for all of the like speaker's speech, rather than just fool around and we don't get the takeaway message. I would believe it conclude my evaluation. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you, our general evaluator, Catherine, to round out the whole meeting. to give our evaluators, timers, some suggestions. So that concludes the reports. We'll move on to the final part of the meeting. First, I would like to ask our guest to give us some comments. So who would like maybe ask Marcus? Like to how do you like about this meeting and anything we can improve or something like?
Okay, thank you for the question. The question asks about the improvement that I can suggest or the thing that I can learn, which is the first would be moving on from the previous meeting to this one. I managed to get a more clear objective of the club and the structure of the speech and how it's being evaluated and how grammar is being done. And I can see that when I joined the full meeting, because the last meeting, I didn't manage to join the full one. So having the privilege to join the full one gives me the upper hand to understand it more clearly. Yeah.
So as I would like to ask for Dutch, would you like to give some comments?
Oh, yeah, thank you for the questions. I think same like Marcus, but since this is my first class, so I'm still wondering whether all the speakers and also the roles been agreed before the session, or how you guys set all this meeting. Is it before the meeting there will be a session to appoint who is the speaker, who is the evaluators?
Yes, we're using we call Easy Speak platform. So I already include you as a special guest, so you can go there and check out the meeting detail for next meeting.
Oh, okay. So there will be another team, different team every week, right? So we have to follow that team.
Yes. So the next meeting will be on December 21st. So I would like to ask another guest comment. Dave, would you like to give us some comments?
Yeah, keeping time was kind of fun, and I hope I did a good enough job. But for us, it's nice to have a role, especially as a guest, because it gives you something to pay attention to a little more and just gets you more involved. So I would definitely say sign up for something for next time, because there's always roles open from what I can see. Thanks for having me again, everyone.
So thank you, Dave. And let's ask our returning guest, Rama.
Thank you. Okay, so as always, this meeting was so much fun to participate in. I just hope, because my schedule is getting a lot more hectic now, that I am able to participate in future meetings. So I'm going to try and fit that into my schedule. I'm so happy that there's so many new people here today. And I hope to continue seeing everyone. And yeah, for the future, I just want to work on being able to speak longer. So that's my goal. Thank you.
So thank you, Rama. And I would like to ask Emily, would you like to give comments? I think Emily probably is not there. So that concludes our guest comments. So we'll move on to the announcement. Our next meeting is on December 21st, Monday, the same time, 7:15 Pacific time. The theme is holiday spirit. And thank you for Sharon to stepping up to be our chair for next meeting. And we have one speaker, myself. So we hope we have 2 more speakers. And the student for the next, and TJ and I were starting to schedule for the next 3 months, which we will try to get our schedule, all the speaker and chair sign up for the next 3 months, that is till March. And I think TJ, do you have anything you want to announce? I think you have some.
Second. Can I just ask one thing? I'm just hearing that we are not doing signing up starting January, so it's now everybody is going on a routine schedule. Is that what I'm hearing from you and
No,
TJ?
I will try to contact each member to try to ask everyone to schedule their speech ahead of time.
Okay.
That's what I'm planning to do instead of one meeting by which I will try to have everyone to sign up for your next 2 speeches.
Okay, got it.
And TJ, I think you have something going on for the social media you want to say about.
Yeah, so thanks, Johan. We have Instagram page and a Facebook page that we're starting up, and we're going to be pretty active on those, as well as probably YouTube as well on some level. But there's only so much I can really do with YouTube right now, other than just posting our meeting or Zoom meeting on it. But no, we are definitely in the works to try to build up membership and provide more to our members as well. So we're going to have some education sessions coming up on different aspects of Toastmasters, where we're going to learn a little bit about the Pathways program, a little bit about becoming a better speaker, on how to do evaluations. So just a bunch of broad topics that are going to help us become a stronger club and provide value to the members. One thing that I just wanted to quickly mention, Catherine, I noticed she has employees only sign on the back of her door. So if you're at work and you made the meeting, that's awesome. I love to see that and see that commitment. So thanks, Catherine, for doing that. And yeah, I'll reach out to some of the members here. If you have any questions, I'll post my number also in the chat. And that way you have my number, and feel free to call me anytime and we can answer your questions and, just get you a little bit more comfortable with Toastmasters. Other than that, the last thing I'd like to do before we end the meeting is take a screenshot that we're gonna post to our Instagram page and Facebook. So usually I like to base it around the theme. Catherine, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I'm wondering, I saw a post on the Facebook page for other club. Do we entitled to have a free second path if we renew our membership before the end of the year, or if the new member will have 2 paths for free?
Yeah, I believe if Johan might know the specifics, but I think if you're
I can answer that. I think for our current member, because all of you renew in October, so all of you can have a second free path.
You need to claim it by March 31st. So get online.
And for any new member joining from this month, next month, you will have one free path. The second free path is for the existing member renewing in October.
Okay.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Catherine. So what I like to do for the screenshot is have it based around our theme. So our theme tonight was letting go. And usually we'll do something, have like a gesture or emotion, or an expression on our face or something like that. I couldn't really think of one today, so I'm going to ask you guys for your help. So what should we do for today's screenshot? Does anyone have any ideas? The theme was letting go.
I don't know. How about background?
All right.
That's the one I'm going to use.
Surprised look, Leah? Kind of like.
Yeah, like that. Oh, you're leaving me. No.
Okay, how about we go with that? Unless anyone else have an idea? Okay, so Leah, you can explain, and then.
Oh God, no.
And just count down for it.
Letting go. When you think of letting go, you can either think of like a weight off your shoulder or a weight on your shoulder. To put some emotion, just like, or letting go. Oh goodness, it's gone. Like just over the top, some emotional face. Really think about it, just some over the top emotional face.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna count down. Think of what you're gonna do. 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. That's all I had to say. Johan, you can close the meeting.
Yeah, thank you for everyone attending. It's 3:03, so I would like to call today's meeting adjourned. However, I think some of our members will stay after. So for the guests, please stay after if you have any question. And if you want to talk in private, I can create a breakout room to talk to you one-on-one. So good night. So the meeting adjourned. So thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all.
TJ, you got mine, right? Got mine there, right? I'm just gonna write
Yeah, we're good.
down.
Good job tonight, Marcus. Or Marcus.
Yes, Marcus, those were some good jokes. Really punny at the end, though.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah.
Did.
So Emily, do you have
Hey,
any?
Marcus, are you working or are you studying?
I'm studying right now.
Great.
Yeah.
So you have more leisure time then.
I'm okay with that because I'm writing up my thesis in this term. So yeah, and working on my research project. So it's mostly desktop work, analysis, and things like that.
Which program are you studying?
You're pursuing your PhD.
Pardon me?
Which program are you studying in?
Oh, I'm in SFU.
What are you
Yeah.
studying, Marcus?
Ecological restoration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Emily,
do you enjoy our meeting or have you joined other club?
It's fun. It's really fun. It's been I've been looking at it for some time since I was since years ago, I guess. And even when they offered it back in BCIT, I couldn't join it because the meetings kind of like clash with my schedule, so I couldn't join them. Yeah, I had no chance.
So Monday is good, right?
They had their meetings on Wednesday. Yeah, they had their meetings. They used to have their meetings on Wednesday, and then COVID happened, and then I think they shut everything down. I'm not sure. I haven't heard from them. Yeah, I haven't heard from the coordinator from the club in BCIT as well.
Do you want to sign up any role next time? Like grammarian or table topics or whatever, or the toast?
Sure.
Do you want to sign up any role?
Let me see. Let me have a look at today's agenda.
Yeah, then TJ and Yuhan can put your name on.
You can be an invocator. That's a good first sort of role.
What is that, TJ?
Invocator. It's just you just share something inspirational or motivational in the meeting. So it's a little bit similar to Toastmaster, where you just kind of uplift the mood of everyone.
Sure. Yeah. Take on the small answers. Yeah. Sounds good. Invocator.
You did a good job with Toastmaster today, so take that one next.
Yeah. Perfect. Nice.
Thank you.
Are you, Marcus, are you ready to join the club, or what's going on there?
Yeah. Ready.
Yeah. Right now you and Emily and Ferdas are guests, right? And are you ready to become a member and start doing your speeches?
Yeah, hopefully. Yep.
Awesome.
Okay.
Want to dive more into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to you a little bit more about what kind of changes you want to make.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Ferdas?
Yeah, come to join us. Like I said, we have lots of experienced members. All the DTMs, they've been work on so many speeches and so many projects. They can help us out. I'm not the DTM. I just participate from most of the club activities. So I'm be on and off, but I offer to help if anyone needs.
Yeah, I think Leah is a very good role to learn from because she's really composed in her speech, and I like her pace. You know, she's really calm, and then I think lots of things to learn from her.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I'll mentor you. I'll mention you.
Yeah, that's another thing is when a new member joins, they get partnered with, they get put together with a experienced member. So then there's a mentor that
like
you have.
mentorship. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Of the club. Emily, you surprised me tonight. You said you weren't going to be able to make tonight's meeting, and then here you are.
Because of my work schedule, because I was supposed to work late, but then they asked me to come in early.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
sweet.
that's why I could make it.
Awesome. Yeah. Are you going to give a speech soon?
Like sometimes like I can't really do Mondays because like my schedule conflicts with the work.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think Rama might have that problem too because she just got a new job as well.
Just come whenever you can.
For Dust, do you have any question?
Yeah. So far I'm okay. I'm good. But I think just now you mentioned the next session will be on the 21st, right?
Yeah, 21st our time, Pacific time.
22nd your time.
So, okay, 21st. So, which means it is 22nd in my country at 11 a.m. So, I think I'm not sure yet, but the lockdown in my country is until 20th, which is the Sunday. So, 21st onwards, supposedly I have to go back to the office. So I'm not sure whether I can do the session at the office, but I'll see how. But I really look forward to participate in the next session.
Yeah, already including you in our Easy Speak site. You should receive an email with the login information as a guest. Once you log in, you can see the detail of next meeting.
Okay, I've got the email. The thing is because I do at office sometimes it's not convenient for me to do this session because I've got other things to do. Sometimes there's a discussion and also meeting, so not convenient for me to join the session. But I find this program, this is my first time. I find it very comprehensive, where it covers all the prepared speech, the impromptu speech, and as well the MC roles. It's very covers all the roles on the daily basis, on the daily work for me, because my job also requires all these things. I need to do a lot of communication and also engage with people, including to be MCs in the special occasions, sometimes impromptu speech, and of course the prepared speech. So found it very suit me well, and really look forward to join for the next session.
If you can do, you're more than welcome.
There you go for us. I mean, this lines up with a lot of the goals, seems like, that you have, and the roles that you have at your job, right, and in your life.
Yeah.
Watch out, Johan. He's gonna start leading these meetings soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we actually all take turns. Like each of those roles on the agenda, like the chairperson, even the chairperson, that changes every meeting, right? So the different people.
Everybody take turns, take different meeting roles.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, if that's it, then I'll call it a night.
Sorry, am I the only one outside? From your time, frame, from your time.
Our current member is in this area, in the Vancouver area. Our current member.
Our last meeting, we had a guest from Montreal, which is a 3-hour time zone difference. We've had guests from Jamaica, which I think is a 4-hour time zone difference. So in terms of guests coming from other parts of the world or the country, We have had guests, just you're the only one today.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have Janice is from Jamaica or Dominican Republic or Jamaica. Jamaica. And she was actually supposed to be on. She's been on to a few of the meetings, and she was supposed to come tonight, but I guess something might have happened, so she wasn't here. But yeah, she's not here, but she's planning on moving here actually sometime soon.
I see. Okay.
And then yeah, the odd time we might have someone else as a guest from a totally different area.
Okay. All right. Nice meeting you.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Have a good night.
All
Have a
right.
good night.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.
Catherine? Oh, I didn't choose. Close. You want to say something?
I'll make it brief and short, but I think I'm just gonna be telling you that I have made changes to the Q&A. At least that way it wouldn't have to be when I answer the questions, it will not need to be so long.
Oh, okay. Well, isn't the Q&A supposed to be 6 to 8 minutes?
Well, the whole thing is gonna be Q&A to be more precise. But the idea is these are more questions that people don't think about in general. Like things like, how do I earn money without accumulating stress? I think these are more beneficial to a club, but I can also answer these in very short form instead of you asking about me and my background, what I did to build wealth. Those questions take a long time to answer.
Do you have